Like Lori said, I'm Nancy Yanuzzi Cleff, your new president. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to be here talking to you today. I will introduce myself a little bit more when we get to my portion of the program, but I want to thank you all for joining us today. This year certainly looks different, but it's so great to see you all on our computer screens. Before I begin, I want to apologize to the alumni who are unable to join us due to it being Rosh Hashana today. The Alumnae Council has always been scheduled for mid-September, and when we said let's make sure it's always like the third Saturday, we failed to look to see holidays into the 2020 calendar, and we apologize for that, and we promise to be much more cognizant about that in the future and assure that this won't happen again. I appreciate that you've chosen to spend your Saturday with us and hope that today provides you with valuable insight about what's going on at Cedar Crest today. Later, I'll update you on the work of the Alumnae Association, but first you'll have the opportunity to hear from President Elizabeth Meade about our diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts here at the college. From Lori Gallagher about alumni affairs activities, and from Valerie Downing about the effects of COVID-19 on our campus. And a guest presentation from Stefani Gomez about the Cressman Library. Following each speaker, there'll be an opportunity for you to ask questions. At that time, we ask you to unmute yourself to ask the questions, but in the meantime, keep yourself muted because it sometimes offers feedback if you're used to being on these Zoom meetings. Sometimes when everybody is unmuted, there's some feedback. So if you'd like to ask a question, give us a little high sign and unmute yourself. We will do our best to monitor the chat box. I got experience from that, checking out those 10-year-olds all spring, my fourth graders on Zoom meetings. But any questions that aren't addressed during the event will be answered next week and published with the recording of Alumnae Council. This is being recorded. So now it's my great honor to introduce President Elizabeth Meade as our first speaker. She's here to talk to us today about diversity, equity, and in the inclusion efforts that are taking place on campus. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Nancy, and welcome everybody. Before I get into my planned remarks for today, I really do want to just take a moment to honor and remember Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I'm going to tear up, sorry. We have, with her passing, lost a giant, lost a tireless champion for equality. In her own life, she blazed a trail for generations of women. She was one of only 9 women admitted to a class of more than 500 men at Harvard Law School, and persistently faced the criticism that she was taking a place that should be filled by a man. And that marked really the beginning of her career in law as well. Despite finding herself initially shut out of all of the traditional pathways of a lawyer, she made her own place in a world dominated by men. In her professional life as a lawyer, she took on the issue of gender equity and changed the world for both women and men. As a Supreme Court justice, she defended women's reproductive rights, voting rights, and pay equity, among many, many, many important cases. There was never anyone like her, and she will be greatly missed. So it's important to pay tribute to her as I go into our own discussion of our equity efforts at the college. I'm going to go back to my prepared remarks because I sort of need to do that to get myself back. So I just want to say good morning and to thank you for joining us all today, and to express my fervent hope that you are all staying safe and well and that you have had the chance to enjoy the summer months. We are so excited to have our students back on campus again for the fall semester, with classes now in full swing. Lori, I think you can advance to the next slide. There we are. Later today, you'll have the opportunity to hear from Valerie Downing about how COVID-19 has affected our student experience and the changes that we have made to ensure Cedar Crest continues to feel like home for our current and future students. But first, I want to talk to you about another incredibly important and pressing issue we are facing both on campus and in our larger community: racism and social justice. Inequity has been a very real issue for students on our campus and members of our community for a long time. But the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic and the recent events involving violence against Black and Brown people have caused us as a country, I think, to finally face the issues of systemic racism and discrimination that our citizens of color face on a daily basis. At Cedar Crest College, we have also been having conversations about the need to face systemic racism in our own culture. So today, I'd like to walk you through some of the hard work that has been put in so far and some results you can expect to see in the future. This is a hard conversation, but it's important. So I thank all of you for sticking with us. While creating a more diverse community has been a priority of the college for many years, it was you, our alumni, who bravely bared your souls and shared your stories of the injustices you faced while students at Cedar Crest that really brought us to look deeper into the systems and structures of the college to root out the institutionalized bias that exists everywhere in our world. In 2015, President Ambar convened a task force on diversity and inclusion after meeting with students about their experiences with racism at Cedar Crest. Co-chaired by alumna and Professor Elizabeth Ortiz and then Associate Provost Robert Wilson, the task force set out an ambitious agenda for change, which was rolled into our emerging strategic plan as an important and distinct set of initiatives. Since the task force report was issued, Cedar Crest College has done a number of things. We've hired a full-time director of diversity and inclusion, Tatiana Diaz. We have renovated the Allen House to become our Center for Diversity and Global Engagement. We've created a bias response process and created the Diversity and Inclusion Council, which is currently co-chaired by Tatiana Diaz and our provost, Bob Wilson. In 2015, we realized that as a college, we needed to respond to the dramatic increase in our population of students of color, which rose from 16.52% in 2008 to 34.4% by 2015. And I'll just note, we've stayed at about 34 to 38% since 2015. The task force laid out a plan for this response. I'm proud that we currently have the most diverse student population of any private four-year institution in the Lehigh Valley. However, we know that having a diverse student population and continuing to recruit students of color is only going to matter if they have the support they need once they are on campus and if they are able to persist to graduation. In recent years, we've increased the extracurricular programming available to our students of color through our through our Center for Diversity and Inclusion, which has, in addition to its full-time director, a dedicated graduate assistant, and 5 student diversity advocates. Regular programming is provided through the CDI, both planned weekly, bi-weekly, bi-monthly, on topics of interest and importance, but also more spontaneously in response to current events. As a result of this programming and support, as well as through significantly increased academic support, we have seen a dramatic rise in our retention of Black students from 61% in 2015 to 86% in 2019, and among Hispanic students from 73% in 2015 to 91% in 2019. And I would like to note that we are currently retaining our students of color at higher than the average retention rate for the college. However, our work is still not done. supporting, retaining, and graduating our students of color will continue to be a major priority for this administration and leaders across campus. So over the summer, we put a more intentional focus on issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We are still not where we need to be, but I believe we are on the right track. In July, the Diversity and Inclusion Council presented me with a comprehensive set of priorities, which they feel will help us become a more equitable and just institution. These priorities have been reviewed by the members of my cabinet and are being incorporated as goals in each of their department operational plans. They've also been added as an area of focus in Cedar Crest College's institutional goals for the year. Our goals for this year are, first, to increase the diversity of faculty and staff. Second, to support the faculty in their commitment to achieve a more racially and ethnically diverse curriculum. Third, to support, celebrate, and recognize anti-racist work by faculty and staff. 4, to review our data collection processes and capabilities to support the work of ensuring equity. 5th, to ensure the Alumni Affairs Office is equitable in its programming and outreach. 6th, to review campus police disaggregate data. 7th, to review financial aid policies and practices to ensure equity. And 8, to ensure an equitable student experience on campus in housing and through student activities. Each of these institutional goals has behind it goals for every single one of the members of my cabinet and for most of the directors on campus. Specific actions to achieve these goals are already underway. We have set a goal of 30% of our new hires of diverse faculty and staff for the year. Second, we had a faculty workshop this summer dedicated to diversity in our faculty and curriculum that introduced a rubric to evaluate syllabi for diversity. A third action you'll see this year is formalizing how faculty address issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion in their annual self-evaluations, and increasing opportunities for BIPOC students with regard to mentoring and study abroad. Over the next 2 to 3 years, priority actions will include seeking funding for faculty development to assist the faculty in the creation of courses that are more inclusive and culturally aware, and revising the college's liberal arts curriculum to engage more systematically with diversity, equity, and anti-racism. This is part of our support for the faculty's anti-racist action plan published earlier this summer. As for the items that will have a direct impact on alumni, Lori Gallagher will be addressing those later in her presentation. In addition to the work being done by the administration, our faculty and staff have truly stepped up in support of our students. Both the faculty and the athletics department have put together specific anti-racist action plans, which are fully supported in the goals of the institution. Some specific actions that the faculty, under the direction of Dr. Luann Fletcher, pledged to accomplish this year include creating and distributing a guide that faculty can use to evaluate their course content and teaching practices in order to integrate more diverse, equitable, and anti-racist perspectives, and to foster greater intercultural competence in class content. Documenting where the curriculum is currently addressing diversity, equity, and anti-racism in courses and programs, and reviewing the syllabus guidelines given to faculty members to ensure that our statement on diversity and inclusion acknowledges the value of diverse perspectives in the classroom. Finally, the Board of Trustees has committed to fully support the anti-racist activities of the college and has therefore established a committee on racial equity to guide and measure progress at the college. This committee is co-chaired by 2 dedicated alumni, Tracy Brumall, class of 1993, and Rena Wallace Pacheco, class of 2012. The committee is comprised of faculty, staff, students, alumni, and trustees. Trustees Meg Schoeneman, Joni Berner, and Carolyn Stennett were asked to participate as a result of their demonstrated interest in the work of racial diversity and equity. Meg Schoeneman and Joni Berner are also alumni. Professor Luann Fletcher will participate as president of Faculty Council and therefore serve to connect the committee to faculty governance. Professor and alumna Elizabeth Ortiz, who has led much of the college's work on diversity and inclusion to date, was also appointed to the committee in recognition of that work. Staff participating include Tatiana Diaz, our Director of Diversity and Inclusion, and Stefani Gomez, our new Director of Cressman Library. Students Gabriel Porter, Sulakshmi Vade, and Daria Warner, and graduate student Lee Sanford have all shown leadership on campus advocating for our students of color. Sulakshmi is founder and president of our Asian Student Association, and Gabriel is president of our Black Student Union. Daria and Lee, in addition, represent our student athletes. Alumni Jade Abston, Ashanta Floyd Ernie, and Noelani Hendricks were all chosen in recognition of the work they did while students to advocate for students of color. This committee has been charged with assessing areas of opportunity to deepen and expand initiatives to address racism and to create a culture of inclusion from an institutional perspective. It will begin by reviewing existing anti-racist efforts at the college and advising us on areas we may be missing. Working groups will be formed to review efforts in different areas of college operations and policies. Meetings of this committee have just begun, and their progress will be communicated through weekly updates. In addition to its own efforts, the committee will support the ongoing work of the Diversity and Inclusion Council, the faculty, the athletics department, and all of the entities at the college who are engaged in helping create a more just and equitable Cedar Crest College. I will also note that we are working on a dashboard that would be on our website that shows how all of the different goals in the different departments of the college connect to our overall institutional goals, and that together you will see there is daily work being done to achieve our goals of being an equitable, just institution. So I know this is a hard conversation for all of us, myself included. We all have a lot to learn and we can all do better. But I'm committed to making a difference for all of our students, for our students of color. I know I will never be able to fully understand the experiences our students and alumni of color have had, but I want everyone to know that I hear you and I see you and I support you. I ask you all to stand with us over the coming years as we work to make a difference together. You've all given so much to your alma mater, and I'm excited about the work ahead and the progress we can make together. And now I'm glad to take any questions that you might have.
So, President Meade, we have one question in the comment section that I will put out there, and then anyone else who has questions, as Nancy said in the beginning, feel free to just unmute yourselves, and then you may ask the question. So the question came from Shannon, and she wants to know, how are we defining diversity? Is the hiring focused on people of color or other minority populations, such as the LGBTQI+ group?
Yeah, that is a great question, and we have always addressed diversity in all of its aspects. And I think, as I've said with this group before, my goal is that our faculty and staff reflect the diversity of our students in their faiths, in their ethnic backgrounds, in race, and in sexual orientation and identity. I will say, though, for this year, we are really focusing on increasing our faculty and staff of color. I think that is the most critical area that we need to address.
And that was the only question in the comment box. So if we have any other questions, we'll give people just a few minutes so they can unmute themselves. or you can type some. Okay, so from Jen Daly, we have, are you focusing on women or trans people of color?
So we are, as I said, we are focusing on people of color. I will say I have worked to try to make sure that we are a very trans inclusive environment. That's very important to me on a personal level. And so for now, our focus is on people of color, but we are trying to reflect the full diversity of our student body in our faculty and staff, and that absolutely includes gender identity as well.
Do we have any other questions?
Oh, I have my hand up.
Oh, go ahead.
I am so grateful for this. It feels as if I haven't heard this. So as an alum, for an 86-year-old alum, I feel like I haven't heard about this from Cedar Crest. I'm active in a community that's doing the same kind of thing, a retirement community, and I'm active in groups that are fostering conversations and all kinds of things in the town and this area and on campus. So I want to know how I can receive information about how this is going. I mean, your report was magnificent. I am so thrilled with what's happening and grateful, but I want to hear about it.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I really very specifically have committed to is being much more transparent about our efforts on campus. And so we have established a place on our website to which we are posting regular updates, and where the dashboard that I spoke of will be published. But I think your point is a good one. Asking people to just go and check our website is probably not sufficient. I've been really happy about our reach with our emailed newsletters and updates. So I will be sure to communicate out to our community more specifically that way as well. But I would also encourage you to go visit our website that does focus on anti-racism.
And just in reference to that, Jenny also mentioned it. If you do have a Facebook account, the Alumni Facebook group, there are updates posted regularly about the work that particularly that the committee is doing in there on a regular basis. So, and just as a reminder, all of these comments will be published with the recording of this, so you will be able to keep those. So I think if we don't have any additional questions, then
Oh, I see Linda Zembron.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Linda.
Unmute yourself, Linda.
Unmute yourself. You're muted.
Lori, can you?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I
sorry.
did. Yeah.
I just wanted to know if there was a possibility that there could be a give and take kind of thing. I know through Facebook you can, but you know, in this world of, you don't know what fake news is or what the real answer is. There's been so much fact checking and all that stuff. Is there any way that we can pose a question to people we trust, our alums, to answer questions for us? There's probably a lot of alums that don't belong to Facebook. Is there some way that we can reach out and ask you questions regarding how we were taught in the 50s or 60s about things that we believe were the way they were, like Christopher Columbus? I didn't know he was a bad guy. So I need to know some answers. Is that possible?
Yeah, I think, one of the things, Linda, that this board group is going to be taking on is talking about how to facilitate conversations. It's why every constituency is represented on it, and they're also taking on the question of communication and making sure that we're communicating appropriately to all of our constituencies. And so I know that that group will be talking about the best ways to facilitate conversations with all of these groups.
Right.
And so I would expect to hear something about that fairly soon.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We have one more person with their hand up. Unfortunately, it's listed as iPhone. So if you have your hand up, I'm unmuting you, and you can go ahead and ask your question.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
This does include Spanish and not necessarily people of color. Diversity is everyone, correct?
Yes.
Spanish, you're doing well with Spanish.
Well, so I guess what I would say is this. So our desire for a diverse community embraces every aspect of diversity. And what we do is to pull out different areas of that diversity and look for markers of success. So I shared with you the retention data, and we'll shortly be able to share our 6-year graduation rates. And we track it right now by race and by first generation college status. And I think we've seen a lot of progress in all areas. But we want always, the ideal of justice is parity, that how well you do is not affected or determined by where you came from or what you look like or who you are.
And I think that was, somebody still had their hand up, one other person. Who's ever on here is iPhone. I'm gonna try to find you. Okay, I do not see anybody else. You are unmuted if you want to ask the question. If not, I think we will just begin the next portion. And if you have, I don't know if she's going to ask the question. No. If you do have any other questions after this, like I say, we will make this recording available. And if you have any other questions, certainly feel free to send them to me. My information is in the reminder email that you got. And then you can also find us online, but you can send any questions. We'll make sure we can get them to President Meade and get those answers out, not just to the person who asked it, but out to everybody. So with that, I thank you, President Meade, for meeting with us and for talking to us today about the work that the college is doing in this area. We appreciate the opportunity to hear from you, and thank you for taking your Saturday morning to talk to all of our alums.
Absolutely, my pleasure, Lori. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope we get to meet in person someday again.
I agree. So now it is so I'm actually going to be the next speaker for today's presentation, and I would like to talk to you a little bit more about the work that we are doing, particularly in Alumnae Affairs. So if you just give me 1 second, I will start my PowerPoint. And for this, while I'm playing the PowerPoint, I won't be able to see the chat, but I will see that as soon as I exit out. So if you put anything in there, I won't be able to respond right away.
I'll try to check it out, Lori, and see if anybody needs something pressing.
Thank you, Nancy. I appreciate it. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Lori Gallagher. I'm a 2008 graduate of the college, but also the director of Alumnae Affairs. So I've been in my role about 2.5 years now. This will be my second Alumnae Council, and I'm very excited to have all of you here today, to have this opportunity to join all of you, even though we can't be together in person. And I do miss the opportunity to see all of you in person, but I'm happy to say this is one of the best attended Alumnae Councils we have had in recent years. So it's really nice to see people from California, people from Florida. We have really people from all across the country with us today, from all different ages and classes. So that's exciting, and I'm glad that you could all join us today. So some of the things that we are doing in Alumni Affairs this year, it looks a little bit different than it has in past years. We're trying some new ideas, new events, new activities, and also trying to work in the COVID environment. So some of our Alumni Affairs initiatives for this year include our events, as they always have been, but for now they will be virtual. For now they will be virtual, and then we will move them to in-person whenever possible. And for those of you who were on the call earlier, I did say that I'm going to make a more conscious effort to use Zoom even once we can be on campus in person, because the opportunity to connect with people who can't make it to campus for any number of reasons is still really important to us. And we've noticed that moving online has given more people the opportunity to be connected. So we will continue to make this an option even when we are in person for events again. Those events will also be department and affinity based, and then social activities. So sometimes it'll just be fun to get people together, and then other times we will do something a little more structured. Another area of focus for us is going to be reunion. I have some more details to share with you about that later. Our alumni communications, I know there was some chat in the box about that earlier, and it's an area where we have struggled in the past. We continue to struggle, but we want to do better. We need to do better. So figuring out the best ways to reach alumni, to offer communications. So some of the things that we are doing is the Touchpoints newsletter, class notes, and Facebook as our key methods of reaching out to alumni, as well as email. But I'm open to having a conversation about that with anyone who has some other ideas. This year we will be implementing alumni chapters, which is new for Cedar Crest College, but has seen a lot of success at some other similar schools. So we're excited to launch that, and I'll share a little more information about that. And then, as President Meade said, the efforts that we are making toward diversity, equity, and inclusion for our alumni, not just for our students, is important. It's important to me. So there's some ideas I have to share with you now, and hopefully we can have a conversation about other ways that we can improve that. So in terms of alumni events and activities, for the fall, we have 2 scheduled events. So the first one is our CloFit virtual fitness. So for those of you who are on Facebook in the group, you have seen Chloe Robinson, she's the class 2007, is vying for the spot in the Miss Health and Fitness competition. She's been really active, has been in first place in her group for the last several months, and she has offered to do a virtual fitness class for fellow alumni who are interested in learning more about what she does. So we are excited to have her do that, and also to support her in her efforts to become Miss Health and Fitness. So for those of you who are not on Facebook, you should have received an email about it, and the information is all available there. And we've had a lot of requests from alumni in the past to do an alumni art show. The logistics of that are not always possible with space and insurance and handling everybody's art pieces, but especially in this time of COVID, we understand the importance of arts and of the beauty that is in art. So we think it is a great opportunity to feature all of the arts and everything that our alumni are doing. So we are putting together a virtual alumni art show. You will be getting an email from me later this month or early next month with some information about submissions, but we will be looking for art of all kinds, and that will be physical, so sculpture, paintings, writing, poetry, performances, dance, any art that you engage with. We would love to have you be a part of that. So we will send that out and get all of that information to you, but I hope that you will share it with your friends, share it with people who are not on the call today, and help us to make that an equally as successful event as the one we're having today in terms of attendance. And then in the spring, pending the ability to host events in person again, we will have our Lehigh Valley event, which is one of our biggest events every year for our alumni who live in the Lehigh Valley region, which is almost half of them. So that's a great opportunity for people to just come together, meet and mingle, hear about what's going on in the college. And reunion, we have set the date for reunion 2021. It is May 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, again, pending the ability to gather on campus. And we're excited to welcome you all back to campus. At that time, we will honor classes ending in 0s and 5s and 1s and 6s. And then we will host an Iron Pigs game in June of 2021, because that's always a fun way for us to get together at the end of our fiscal year. So for reunion, as I mentioned, we're honoring the classes of 0s and 5s and 1s and 6s. That means that both 50th reunion classes are going to be initiated into the Golden Club. Any classes that want to have special social events just for their class and get together, we will make that available to all of those classes. The information about the schedule and the hotel blocks and additional information will be online in starting January 1st. And the website is there for that. And some of the big events that we have at reunion, we'll hope you'll be able to join us for, are the All Alumni Luncheon, the Strawberry Festival, the Murder Mystery Dinner Theater, the dance party, the brunch, and the bingo. Now, the change to this is that we, in the past, have only sent reunion brochures out to those in reunion years, but we really want reunion to be an opportunity for everybody to come together, regardless of your class year, because we know people have friends in other classes, your big sis classes, your little sis classes, so we want everyone to be able to attend. So this year, the registration form will be in class notes, which will be printed in March. So it'll be the class notes and reunion registration combined together. So you'll want to watch for that. And you can also start registering online starting March 1st. So in terms of alumni communications, we print several different alumni communications, and one of them is touch points. We just started that last year, so that is new, but it is printed twice a year. We will do it in January and July. And some of the features that we'll put in that are alumni stories, student stories, faculty and staff features, but also college updates, and event happenings, anything that is key at the college at the moment. So that goes out to all alumni in a printed form. We are also this year going to create a PDF form that we can send out electronically and also post to our website. Class notes is going to be printed once a year in March. As I mentioned, that will also include the reunion registration, but that is the class columns and the in memoriam list. And the purpose of that publication is really to keep our alums connected to each other, where the purpose of touch points is really to help you stay connected with the college. And then we also do have our Facebook. So we have two Facebook pages, for many of you know. So we have a private Facebook group and an official Facebook page for Cedar Crest College alumni. The page is the official one run by the college. So that is where we will post events, happenings, updates, news, fundraising appeals, anything that spotlights, student and alumni spotlights. Where the private Facebook group is a place for alumni to gather, to share their memories, to share your stories, to connect with each other. And that's important that we keep that, because we want you to have that space to do that. And I know at our last meeting, many of you had mentioned the need to have that moderated more closely. So I am happy to say that we have officially moved that over to the Alumnae Association for them to manage. And Shannon McElroy, who is on our call today, so thank you, Shannon. She has very graciously agreed to chair that committee. So she may reach out to some of you who've expressed an interest to participate in that committee with her, but she will work with managing the Facebook page so that it has a moderator, and so that issues and concerns that are brought up there can be shared with the college in a timely manner. So we appreciate that. So thank you very much, Shannon, and thank you to everyone else who has offered to help her with that management. So alumni chapters, as I mentioned, this is something that is new for Cedar Crest, but not really new in the alumni affairs world. So what these are, alumni chapters are affinity or regionally based groups of alumni who meet to share ideas, host events. They have a purpose, and the actual chapter gets to decide what that purpose is, but the primary goal is to connect alumni with other alums in the area. So this year we are going to do our test test chapters. We will do 2 that are regional in North Carolina and Florida because we've had interest expressed in those areas. And then in terms of affinity, we are going to do our BIPOC, which I think Jenny had mentioned it in the comments, but for those of you who don't know, it is Black, Indigenous, and People of Color. So our alumni who fall into that category and anyone who wants to be an advocate to help toward anti-racist work and to help mentor and support our students of color on campus, that group is open to everyone there. We've had 3 volunteers already, so I thank you to those of you who reached out to me about that. And then if anyone else is interested, we'll be sending some more information out about that via email. And then we're also going to try one in our nursing department, so we can try a major. And depending on the success of these and seeing how they go and what we need to do, we will continue to grow these to include more affinity groups, more majors, and more regions over the coming years. But for this particular year, we will establish all of the chapter guidelines, recruit our chapter members and leaders, host training sessions on what the chapter is and what it does. And the goal will be to have all of this running by January of 2021. So that we can start hosting events in spring of next year. So in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts from the alumni side, we understand, I know that this is a hard conversation, President Meade said that, and I am still learning. It is, there's a lot to learn, and I know that I can't understand the experiences that many of our alumni of color have had, but I am committed to working with the college and working with our alumni to create the most equitable and positive experience for our alumni of color that that they can have now as alums. And you're a student for 4 years, but you're an alum for a lifetime. So being part of our community is important, and I want to ensure that our alumni of color do feel welcomed at our events and in the activities that we do. So we were tasked with some priorities from the Diversity Council. So I wanted to share with you today what we've been asked to do and what specific actions we are putting into place to accomplish those. Again, very open to other ideas that you may have in ways that we can engage alumni, but also connect alumni with students and provide mentorship opportunities where possible. So the first area was to create a communication strategy that is equitable in its engagement of all alumni. So this is important. We've talked about this. This is an ongoing issue. Communicating in general is important. So we will help work to create a much more equitable distribution with intentional thought to communications across all marketing and advertising channels. And that includes mail, email, social media, and newsletters. I think it was Christine, you mentioned that not everybody is on Facebook, and we do recognize that, and it's an easy fallback for us because it's quick, we can get information out to a large number of people, but it is something we will focus on expanding a bit. So we recognize that sending things out through the mail and through email and phone calls is also important. So we are focusing a more intention on more equitably distributing all of our information. And then the other task that we've been asked to do is to celebrate our BIPOC alumni equitably and intentionally. So what this meant for us in terms of the actions that we are taking in the alumni office were to include a feature in the Touchpoints newsletter on our BIPOC alumni, to work on diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts at the college, the action plans, the work of the forgotten, highlighting the things that are important to our alumni and highlighting the work that is being done at the college. So it is available, and that goes out to all 14,000 alumni. Will get the printed copy of this in the mail, and that will go in our January feature. And we'll also work to host an event focused on the BIPOC community in this fiscal year. So several of you have reached out to me to provide me with the names of speakers, and I appreciate that. So if you have other speakers or other ideas, you're certainly welcome to send them to me, but I will reach out to our alums, to those speakers, and we will work to get an event set up for that. And then also to host a BIPOC focused event during reunion. So reunion is one of the biggest events we've hosted on campus, but it has been brought up that it's not welcoming for everybody, but we want it to be. So intentionally focusing on our alumni of color and giving them a space that is theirs and that they can feel welcomed in is an important part of what we're going to do. So that will be added to the reunion schedule for this year. We also talked about engaging our BIPOC alumni in committing equitable resources. So in the way we allocate the dollars for events, we looked at that this year and looked at the way that our outreach is done. So we were very intentional this year in distributing our budget dollars to the events that focus on our alumni of color, in the same way we focus events, money for events to different majors, to different affinity groups. So making sure that that's an equal distribution across all channels. And then I was actually added as a member of the Diversity and Inclusion Council this year. So it was a nice opportunity to hear from our other faculty and staff and the ideas they have. And I will be sitting on that committee in the future. And then to advocate for more representation of our BIPOC alumni on our Alumnae Association Executive Board. And Nancy Cleff is going to talk to you a little bit more about this. We recognize it's an issue, and the Alumni Board is for all alumni, so it needs to look and feel like all of our alumni base. So we will work to intentionally recruit our alumni of color and to work with the Alumnae Association to ensure that the board more closely represents our alumni. And as I said, Nancy will be talking a little bit more about that later. As I mentioned, we will create an alumni chapter for our BIPOC alumni who have been historically underrepresented, and this, as I mentioned, everything else. So researching what it means to implement this chapter and ensuring that it's done right. And then one of the biggest tasks, and this is not one we will complete within the next year, this is a 2-year plan for us, is to develop initiatives that address past negative experiences. So I understand that Cedar Crest is not the same experience for everyone. And for many of our alumni of color, for those of you who participated in the Call with the Forgotten or in the other alumni forum, you heard these stories and you heard these heartbreaking stories. And it's important that we continue to do work to change the experience that our students have to make a better experience for our alumni when they return to campus. But it's also important that we recognize the hurt that they have had in the past. So one of the things that we will be working to do over the next 2 years is to capture historical accounts and alumni stories for our BIPOC alumni, and we will build it into a museum exhibit that will be put on display in spring of 2022. So it will be placed in the beginning of the semester and will last through reunion 2022. So that will be all stories of our alumni of color and really to celebrate the past, to celebrate the future, but also to recognize the past, because that is an important for us to do. So those are just some of the initiatives we have going on at the college right now in terms of alumni affairs, but I appreciate everyone who is here today, staying involved, getting engaged, attending these events. It's important, and I appreciate that you are all here. So some other ways you can stay involved: you can always volunteer. We haven't had a lot of opportunities for that this year because we aren't on campus, but in the future, you can always volunteer to be a class officer. You can volunteer to come to meet students, to mentor students. You can make a gift, and I know a lot of what we're talking about, it's hard, and COVID is happening, and people have lost their jobs, and it might seem making a gift to the college hard, but what's important to understand is that it is the participation of our alumni that helps to keep our college thriving. So we have a big, bright future ahead of us. We want to do a lot of great things, but what we really need to do is to support our alma mater. So even a gift of $5, you might not think it makes a difference, but it makes a huge difference, because what that does is it's not just a $5 gift. It is a vote of confidence in your alma mater. It's an investment in the students of today. As I mentioned before, you're alums for life. So when you invest in the college with your $5 gift, that tells the rest of the world it's a place worth investing in. It tells big grantors that it's a place worth investing in. So they look at the alumni participation when they're going to give $1 million grant from a corporation or a foundation. So your $5 isn't just a $5. It means so much more, and it's a great way for you to support Cedar Crest, even in this time of COVID, if you are able. And also to talk to your friends about Cedar Crest. What you learned today, questions you have, talk to your friends, get them involved, get them to reach out. And also to share good news that you hear, to share what you're hearing on Facebook with friends who may not be on Facebook. You can also recommend students for admission. So there's lots of ways that you can continue to stay involved as an alum, because you are part of our community, and we want this to feel like your home for forever. So I thank you all for being with us today, for giving me the opportunity to talk to you about some of the things we're doing. And as I mentioned, you can always email me. It is lori.gallagher@cedarcrest.edu. You can always send me emails about ideas you have, questions you have. We will do our best to get you some answers. So thank you all so much for joining us. And I am actually going to turn it over now to Nancy Cleff.
Oh, my aching head. I'm trying to chat. I'm 62. I retired. I can't chat and pay attention at the same time. Hello.
Thank you for running the chat, watching that chat from you, Nancy.
Yay. Take a breath. Anyway, thanks, Laura. It was very informative. Those of you who know me know that I like to spread a little humor. So that's why I was being silly just now. But what she was talking about was all very serious and very important. And I'm so glad that everybody had who is on here today has had a chance to hear all that's going on campus, and that you have reassured us all that even if someone's not here today, they'll be able to find out through the recording, and that Facebook is not the only way to go. We will be letting everyone know keeping them informed of what's going on campus all the time. So anyway, hello, my friends. I am Nancy Yanuzzi Cleff. I'm class of 80. It seems like I've been involved at Cedar Crest since 76 when I came on the campus as a freshman. I dove in feet first, was always a class student government officer, not so much class officer, but I was involved with student government. I was a floor counselor. When I left Cedar Crest, I came back and was the resident counselor, assistant dean of students for a couple years. Hi to all who drove me crazy in the dorms, if you're on here, Ellen. I had been a teacher, like I just said, and then after staying home with our son, Dan, who is now 33, went back when he was probably around 7, and went back into the classroom. In the last several years, I've been teaching, the last 20 years, I've been teaching mostly 3rd and 4th grade in the East Bend School District, which is right here outside of Allentown in Emmaus in the Macungie area. So I, love educating, whether it's, the students who were on campus when I was in the Dean of Students office, or my 9 and 10-year-olds. I miss it. I don't miss all the Zooming. But now that I have more time to devote back to Cedar Crest. So thank you for allowing me this chance. And I know a lot of people hate seeing you reading things, but I have so many things I want to make sure I say that I did type up my report. And so I am just going to kind of read it just because I don't want to miss out on anything. So our association, like the rest of the world, has been busily working, trying to stay the course and charge full steam ahead in these trying times. We've become proficient in Zooming and GoToMeeting, which I don't think is a word. We've risen to the occasion, and as in the usual Cedar Crest fashion, we've recognized that we have fallen short in some areas. In response to the Black Lives Matter initiative, we've taken steps to make sure that we are listening to all our alums and are educating ourselves regarding their concerns. And like an alum who spoke recently too on this platform, I am learning. Every day I want to be educated on the words to use so as to include everybody and not step on toes. And we're old and we're not used to this, and we thank you for educating us. So that's my little plea to just bear with us. But we are listening, we're educating ourselves how to address these concerns. We're rethinking and reworking several of our committees to address how we're functioning in the socially distant way. But most of all, we continue to hold true to our mission to support our Alumnae Association, our alma mater, and we're here to be an advocate for alumni engagement, provide financial support, and assist the alumni office in any ways that we can. We've welcomed this year our newly elected directors, Deirdre Latouf Allen, class of '07, to our board, along with Bethany Brown, class of '04, and Diamond Scott, class of '18. And we also want to thank Jennifer Richards, class of '04, for continuing her work on our board for another term. The committees that need to be revamped this year to meet the challenges of today's socially distant society. You've heard about our new communications committee. Thank you again, a second time, Shannon McElroy, for taking the helm there. But she is going to help out on that committee. And we are also revamping our auction. We used to be called the auction committee. It's proposed to be our fundraising committee. This group is of dedicated alums who will be working hard with our alumni office to come up with new and exciting ways to support our college in this ever-changing world. So look for new ways to help us out. We've proposed also adding a membership committee and communications committee, like I said. I said nominating committee before. Sorry, Shannon. Nominating committee, membership committee and communications committee. That is thanking Shannon McElroy to meet the needs of our college and our Alumnae Association. And the reason I made myself a note about the nominating committee is because I'm busily writing down all these alums who are interested in getting on board and to add more diverse. And by diverse, I mean the people of color, age. We are, look at our screens. We have been remiss, I think, sometimes in bringing in the younger alums. And so we thank you. I thank you for jumping in on that chat as I was madly writing things down for the nominating committee. A third point I wanted to bring up is our annual dues revenue is down this year. It's considerably down for a couple reasons. We can look back at the cancellation of our reunion, in-person reunion, as one reason, and the membership committee will be addressing ways to help boost our membership. We have to understand where those dues go for. This is not the Crest Fund. This is membership in the association, the Alumnae Association. And I feel it's important to let you know where those monies go towards. It's to fund ring scholarships for students in their sophomore year, undergraduate activities, the faculty award, our museum, the freshman valedictory award, the senior award, and most importantly, at the end of the year, our gift to the college. So if you haven't paid your dues to this, in that mailing, we ask that you think about that. It's important for all those programs that our budget covers and addresses, and it's a way to thank the students that come behind us. The second thing on that same topic is the way we pay it. Again, we have our checkbooks out and mail things in, and we know the problems that the post office is having lately. So I encourage you, when you receive your letter, I think it's going out this week, if not next week, to pay your dues electronically if you feel comfortable doing that, because that way you are sure to make an additional commitment to Cedar Crest by becoming a dues paying member of the Alumnae Association. And I thank you in advance for that. Lastly, I want to make you aware of the incredible work that Tracy Broomall, class of '93, and Rena Pacheco, class of '12, who I think are both on here. I think I saw you on our Zoom, have done to head up this diversity, inclusion, and equity task force this summer. You heard and saw in detail Elizabeth telling you the work that they have started attending to. So they are going to be meeting and keeping us posted in many different ways on their progress. And I will say that I'm guessing their mantra, like my mantra, is what can we do better, and please educate us. So again, I thank you. I don't know if anybody has any questions, but I thank you for joining us today. Let's see, this is good now because I'm more timely with my remarks here than I was at our annual meeting. So I thank you for listening, and I'm going to pass this back to, or on to, it looks like Valerie Downey, our Vice President of Institutional Advancement.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. How are you today? Thank you so much for being a part of this meeting and for joining us from all over the country. I was really echoing what Lori said. I was so impressed to see all of the states represented and some of the folks who I'm certain from Washington and South Carolina, Illinois, California. Shout outs to all you folks. So hopefully you can all see my screen. What I'd like to do is give you a little update today on a few things. I know we are running behind schedule, so I'm going to go through this rather quickly. And then if you have any questions, you can certainly ask them at the end. So I'm going to go over our immediate COVID-19 action that we took in March, our safe return to campus for our students, faculty, and staff. Talk a little bit about Cedar Crest traditions, some campus news, an enrollment update, point out some frontline Falcons that are doing amazing things, and touch on some upcoming events we have going on here. So just to touch on this, for those that may not be aware, back when the pandemic started in March, we pulled together our incident management team. The college always has an incident management team that is only called together when there are critical issues taking place. That team met back then about 4 days a week. We are still meeting 2 days a week to deal with all of the steps of the process of the pandemic and what needs to be done to keep everybody safe. We immediately pivoted to a work from home and online course delivery method. I have to give a shout out to our faculty. Any of you on the line that are educators, you can only imagine how difficult it was to have 3 days notice to pivot to online learning. So our faculty did an unbelievable job, and they had to learn very, very quickly. For those that delivered their coursework in person and didn't use an online modality, they had a very steep learning curve. Our IT folks jumped in to help them so that we could give our students in the spring the best experience possible. On the staff and faculty front, you know, most of us went home. We only had essential personnel on campus, and we all had to learn to adjust and modify what we did. Again, our students are the core of what we do, and everything we did back then was keeping them at the forefront of our efforts. One of the other things that happened at that time, the Board of Trustees appointed a college-wide task force. You'll see the 5 working groups that are listed here. In short, the board realized that the pandemic was going to be a hit to the college. We needed to be able to plan and move very, very quickly. So these working groups were asked to deliver a plan in 4 weeks' time. So on these working groups were faculty, trustees, staff. Many folks were putting in many hours to do what was needed to keep the college strong. The academic year 2021 working group was focused on how we will be teaching in the fall. They did an unbelievable job in putting together options of how we could do program delivery. The business operations working group was focused on the hard conversations about how we could cut costs. We knew we were going to be experiencing tremendous loss as a result of the pandemic, so they started to look at every single spot on campus where dollars could be saved. The revenue working group was doing just that, looking for ways to increase revenue, whether it be through enrollment, through fundraising, or through events of some type online. We needed to really be able to solve that problem. The academic operations working group was working on just that. What do we need operationally to make sure this is going to work for our students and for our faculty and staff? And then the investment opportunities working group was the group that made decisions on where we should invest dollars in the event there were some things that were needed immediately to make it all work. Unbelievable job by all those of you on the phone that participated in those. A great big thank you. I know the work that you put in. We also developed a website for those of you that might want to check it out. I have the web address listed here. And you can click on the main screen of our website, and at the very top, there is a button you can click for COVID-19. It has an amazing amount of information out there and resources for you. Also shares all of the things and communications we sent out throughout the past number of months. We also developed health and safety plans for all of our audiences, faculty, staff, students. Very detailed plans are out there as well of how we plan to keep everybody safe and are currently using those plans every day. So what does it look like for our students? What does it look like for our faculty? What we pivoted to was a dual delivery high flex model this fall. And what that means is every single course delivered is also available in an online format. So if you look at the breakdown, our students are still having an in-person experience 44% of the time. We had to make our classrooms much smaller, right? So the physical space was there, but you had to have 6-foot social distancing between students in each class. So our average enrolled per class was 11. We had 29% of our courses in a hybrid modality where they had both an in-person component parts of the week and an online component the other parts of the week. And 27% of our courses were offered 100% online. When it comes to the clinicals and the things that need to happen in person for certain majors, everywhere we could make arrangements to continue those, we absolutely continue those. We know how critically important it is for hands-on experiences, especially in those clinical areas. So I just wanted to point that out, that we have done everything we can to make sure all of those things continue. Obviously following masking and social distancing as well. If you came to our campus at all, you'll see these lovely decals and stickers everywhere. We have signage, how you can enter a building, how you should exit a building, where you should walk, where you should stand, where you should sit, to make it very, very easy for everyone to understand the safety precautions. Everyone wears masks unless you're in your personal office or in your dorm room. And plexiglass barriers are all over campus to keep faculty safe and staff safe in traffic areas. We've had a lot of change to athletics. You know, athletics was suspended for the fall based on our conference's direction, but our coaches really put some programming together to keep our athletes engaged and healthy and active. Dining on campus, you might be wondering how we're preparing food and serving it to our students. What we've done is reduce the seating in Canova Commons and the Falcon's Nest. We had to make it safe for folks to sit and eat there. So we have 92 seats in Canova, I believe, right now, versus the hundreds it sat before. We also have all types of grab-and-go prepackaged foods. And one of the biggest hits is actually a mobile app that people can order their food made to order and then swing in and pick it up at the Falcon's Nest. So very safe ways to deliver food. Our dining folks are actually serving food in Canova Commons rather than having anybody touching any utensils or serving dishes and things of that nature. I want to mention activities. As you all know, when you were here, you participated in activities. There were things going on all the time on campus, and that's very difficult to do right now. So we are working on virtual activities for folks as well as in-person activities with social distancing, and our student activities board and all of the folks on that side of the house are doing an amazing job of keeping our students connected and engaged, and especially our freshmen who are having a very different experience right now. We continue to be at a 30% on-campus staffing model. It actually has provided us with some ability to extend our hours, people that are flexible with their schedules so they can help young children in their homes, maybe working evenings and weekends. So far it's working very well, and we've all adapted greatly. As you well know, Cedar Crest traditions are important to all of us, especially you as alumni. And we wanted to make it very special for our folks this year who missed our traditional commencement. So we did do a drive-through commencement ceremony on August 15th, and graduates had to sign up to be a part of that. They came in full cap and gown and masks, of course, and they were able to receive their diplomas on the steps of Blaney. And for any of you that as freshmen participated in an open door ceremony, what a nice way to circle back. So you welcomed yourself on those steps as a freshman, and then you received your diploma this year on those Blaney steps. So that went very, very well. The one thing that we wished we could have done but could not, we could not have you with us. So a lot of times many of you volunteer for those special events, and we were unable to have faculty, staff, or our alums or trustees present due to the size restrictions. So I do apologize for that, and hopefully next May, we will have you all back helping us out. Orientation and open door happened as well. Again, open door for our freshmen, did not have parents in attendance, which was kind of sad. But again, we needed to follow all of the guidelines. So people still said their name and where they came from and walked down the Blaney steps. We had to change our convocation ceremony, which if you recall is always held in Alumni Hall. We could not gather indoors in that nature. So we did announce to the freshmen where they would be going on their sophomore expedition trip. And they are going to Marrakesh, Morocco in March of 2022. Very rich culture, multiple language spoken there, and it will be our third continent visited. So hopefully all goes well with the pandemic and it is gone and we will be able to travel. Some other things that happened throughout the summer and recently, I just wanted to mention, we did launch an Aspire Summer Bridge program. That was grant funded, and what that did was bring students to campus this summer, a small cohort, to get them acclimated and prepared for becoming freshmen. Many of those students came from local center city schools, and it gave them an opportunity to get acclimated to the learning environment and research so that they could be successful. We did hire a new vice president of enrollment. We've never hired a new vice president only through Zoom, and that is what we did this time. We could not meet in person. So Erica Davis joined us. She comes from Mary Baldwin University, has a tremendous amount of enrollment experience, and we're already seeing a lot of movement and a lot of new exciting things coming from her. Our School of Nursing participated in a $100,000 Department of Health grant focused on diabetes awareness in children. And working with Penn State University, we developed a Better Kids Care module that is being used for training all over. Truly successful effort. Shout out to all of the nursing faculty and staff that helped with that initiative. Many of may have seen the face masks that we are selling through the athletics program. They're here in the top corner of my slide. That has been a fundraiser for athletics to support all of our folks. But I will tell you, anyone looking for a ginkgo mask, we will be coming out with those shortly, and you'll have an opportunity to have a face mask with ginkgo leaves on it to support your alma mater as well. On the enrollment status, here is where we are this fall. We have 1,433 students, 743 undergraduates, the traditional undergraduates. We have 30 dietetic interns. We have 315 adult graduate students. I will tell you, this program is on fire. It is growing in leaps and bounds. We are very excited about that. And this is not 315 individuals. This is a full-time equivalent count, so there's more students enrolled. They don't tend to take a full credit load, but it's going extremely well, and the college is really focused on continuing to add graduate programs, and it's being very successful. On the SAGE adult undergraduate side, we have 301 students right now. This is an area of growth for us. This is unfortunately on a steady decline over the past 6 years, and we are working extremely hard to understand why our adult undergraduate students aren't coming to Cedar Crest. It may just be the nature of the workforce and there aren't as many out there, but this is something Erica Davis is working very hard on to make sure we grow those numbers and keep them strong. Visiting students is international. So we're sitting at 44. Oops, sorry about that. And incoming freshmen, we had 183 incoming freshmen and 28 transfers. We were shooting to be in the 220 range, so we are right in where we wanted to be. And I will say a shout out to our enrollment team and admissions. In a COVID pandemic, you know, we were very fearful we would lose a lot of those incoming freshmen. They did an amazing job of keeping them connected, and we're thrilled that they're here. So a shout out to those of you on the call that maybe should be on this slide. We have had countless stories from alums who are working on the front lines and helping with this pandemic. These are only 4 that I have presented here, but I want to thank all of you that are making this difference and sacrificing your time and your health to keep us all safe. You know, here we've got Brian over here to the left. He works for St. Luke's University Health Network in the ER. We've got Susan O'Neill here, another alum, and Professor Sandy Axt. There at Lehigh Valley Health Network in the neuro unit. You know, Danielle Skinner here her work was involved with neglected tropical disease, and she's a scientist for the University of California, but now she's working on COVID-19 efforts and really seeing how she can help with some antiviral treatments. We've got Sarah over here in New York City working in the Parks Department with her horseback patrol, but I just want to do a shout out. There's so many of you making a difference, and we are so proud to have you out there helping in this crazy pandemic. Just some things coming up. We will be having an in-person event. I'm so excited to see some people live. October 12th, we can indeed hold golf because golf courses are outside and we just have to modify our food. So if anybody on the line that are local or anybody that wants to jump in a car and play in our golf outing, certainly let me know. Giving Tuesday is coming up December 1st. I'd like to get that on your calendars. And we are hopeful that in 2021, we can hold events in person. So our annual scholarship dinner and associates awards are scheduled for February 18th and our casino night for April 9th. So put those on your calendar and hopefully we will be able to meet in person. Does anybody have any questions for me about COVID-19 or about anything at all regarding the college I might be able to answer? Okie dokie, Lori. I'm not looking at the chat, so I'm not seeing if there's anything there.
Oh, it looks like Phyllis, do you have a question? Looks like Phyllis might have a question.
Yeah, yes, I do. Going back to some of the things that Lori talked about with the publications and mentioning that everything's being printed and mailed out. Is there anything to do with electronic versions of those publications? And, you know, for people who might want to prefer to get it electronically.
Yes, absolutely. This year, we plan to actually put those publications on our website or send them out electronically as well. It's always something that we struggle with. There's a large population of folks that like to have the printed version. If you're an individual that prefers only electronic, you can certainly email us and let us know, and we will try to give you everything electronically, which would save us on printing and mailing costs. But we had gone to a period a few years ago where we went to mostly electronic. And then we had received feedback that the tangible items were not coming and people were missing our messaging. So certainly let us know your preferences. We're going to try to do a good job of doing print as well as online, and any of those print materials like our donor report and those Touchpoints newsletters, we will begin to post online as well.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it should be on a kind of an as requested, you know, preferred method. Just some people don't have the access to the alumni also.
Yes, it's a really delicate balance, but certainly, you know, we'll take all of your preferences. Let us know, and we will try to accommodate you there.
You can send me my stuff electronically. I love it. I'm
writing you down.
Yeah, I'm in an organization. I belong to an organization that started doing that with some of their publications, and I love being able to just look at it on the computer if I want. If I want to download it to my ebook, I can do that.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I'll mute myself again.
Okay. Thank you all very much for your attention. And I know we're running behind, so bear with us. Thank you.
Nancy. So the next speaker we have is actually our guest presentation, and it is Stefani Gomez. She is our new director of the Cressman Library, and she was recently hired this year. She also, I believe, started either just before or during the pandemic, but she's been doing a lot of really great work with our campus and our students. So we invited her to talk to you today just to provide a little bit of an update about the library and the work that, that they are doing for our students. So Stefani, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Okay, do you see Cressman Library right here? Make sure I'm sharing my screen.
Yep, you're all set.
Okay, great. Okay, hi everyone. I'm Dr. Stefani Gomez. I'm the new Cressman Library Director. I'm really happy to be here. Your continued engagement with both the school and with the library are so important, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk with you today. Before I talk about what kind of place we want Cressman Library to be, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Latina, I'm Colombian and American. I went back and forth my whole life from Colombia to the US, but I really grew up in Southside Bethlehem and Center City, Allentown, so this area is really important to me. I graduated from Allen High School. I came back after I got my BA in English from Penn State. I worked at Allentown Public Library for years while I got my master's in library information science. I even did my dissertation research on my PhD with Puerto Rican and Dominican families in this area. And so you can see I have a long-standing and deep connection to this area. And actually it is this ability to contribute and to help build a symbiotic relationship between the school and the community that really brought me here and made me want to be here. Before I go on, I also want to say, like Lori had just said, I came on in April, which is a crazy time to come on, but I really want to recognize my staff. They worked so hard in this transition to support me and to do everything that needed to happen. So they established a social media presence out of nowhere. We shifted all of our services, resources, processes online. We developed a reference chat, which you can access on our website. We streamlined our website, redesigned it. We significantly increased diversity in our adult and children's collections, increased digital purchasing. So all of that we have done, they have worked so hard, and I'm really grateful to them. So thank you, Sherry Snyder, Nanette Dremer, Judy Titus, Nicole Rivera, and Nicholas Gallant. So I'm really grateful to them. So what kind of place do we want Cressman Library to be? We want Cressman Library to be the beating heart of the Cedar Crest campus, the Cedar Crest community. And how can we do that? We really need to be a welcoming and accessible community for all. There's this quote by David Lanks that really kind of epitomizes how I feel a library should be today. It goes, bad libraries build collections, good libraries build services, of which a collection is only one, great libraries build communities. So this really, what I like about this is it shows we are so far past, you know, that kind of traditional old-fashioned way of looking at libraries as just a warehouse for books. Now we're set up to be the foundation of communities. And that's the direction that we want to go in. So we are working to building this community in 3 major ways. Engagement with the community, focusing on equity, diversity, and inclusion, and also the development of a critical information literacy program. So I'll talk about each of these in turn. So in order to really engage with the community, we have to know the community, we have to understand the community. And that means both the on campus and off campus. That means the students that are around here and the alumni that aren't around here anymore. And we really need to understand all of the personal needs and information needs that you all have. And so we're mapping those needs. Where are the students? How can we talk to them? That means online and also in person. So we also want to fulfill the personal as well as academic needs. So we are going to be doing things like joining McNaughton leasing programs so that we have access to bestsellers and all of the important books that everyone's talking about now. So we can bring people into the library and really engage in those conversations that are happening right now. I'm sure a lot of you also know that we are really developing or trying to develop an authentic voice on social media. So you'll find us on Facebook and Instagram. But we're building trust by sharing ourselves, our own stories, and also about what's important to us. And we're trying to engage meaningful connections or meaningful conversations with this on the topics that the students, faculty, staff, alumni, all these topics that are important to you. And we want to maintain these conversations because Black Lives Matter is going to matter after the journalists stop talking about it, after everyone stops protesting. If we want to make real change, we need to maintain these conversations and keep them ongoing. And so we would like to do that. And so this brings me to our work on equity, diversity, and inclusion. And so I know these words are like used a lot and kind of overused, right? And it's hard to know what they mean anymore because they have kind of lost their meaning. But I'll tell you what they mean to me, okay? So just in a simple way that gives you a little summary. So diversity really means just getting people into the room, getting diverse voices into the room. Inclusion means including these diverse voices, including our voices in the processes that have already existed, that are already there, that are generally dominated by white culture. Equity means allowing and providing the space for these voices to come in and actually change these processes so they better fit our needs. And so you see there's a nuanced difference between the words, but they really lead to different places. And so we have to think about what they mean and where we want to go. We are committed to hiring and training and mentoring Black and Brown students, and also including them in our governance process and having them help us serve all of the students. So they know what they need probably better than we do. So we want to understand what are the students' needs. We also want to take an educational role within the community on campus and then off campus. So as I had said, we want to be talking about these things and sharing our voices and sharing what we do know, because we do have a place from which to speak. And so if we're going to talk about equity, diversity, and inclusion, we really need to think about how we teach information. And so that comes in with the development of a critical information literacy program. So we need to go beyond just teaching students about our academic resources, right? We need to go beyond just teaching them about what's in the library and what's on the website, because students need now is to be able to navigate the information environment, which is basically everything. They need to know how to do that beyond just working on academic things. They need to be able to do it in regular life. They also need to be able to use online resources beyond what we have available, because they're not going to have access to them after they graduate, generally speaking, if we're talking about the databases. And so they need to have access to online resources, know how to use them in a professional way that supports their lives personally and professionally. They also need to, we know that a lot of us, even the most educated of us, are having a lot of trouble evaluating resources, evaluating news, and we're even falling prey to conspiracy theories and such. And so we need to give students the tools to be able to differentiate between what is fact, what is fiction, what is truth. We need to think about what these words are and how they are presented, and give students ways of looking at these things. We also need to think about consumer information research and big data. So students, their information, every little teeny tiny thing that they're doing is being followed. So we want students to be able to think about what the services there are and weigh them against the risks to their privacy. So in thinking about this, we really want to give students the strategies to build intentionally inclusive information environments. So that means that they are going to set up systems, processes in their everyday lives that makes it more likely for them to encounter high quality information and also more diverse voices. Because there are a diversity of voices in every interest area, in every discipline. They're just not often the ones that are centered. We have to actually do that work to get it into our environments. We have to do that work. And so we have to teach students to do these things. And so with that really does bring me to the end of what I had to say today. But I want to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak with you all. And I want to ask you all to like come on this journey with us, connect with us. You know, we're there and we really want to connect. And so you check out our website. It's a really friendly place. We have a reference chat now, so you can talk to us one-on-one. Our website is library.cedarcrest.edu. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, email, and please feel free to email me personally, stephanie.gomez@cedarcrest.edu. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie, so much for joining us today, for sharing all of that with the alums. I think it was really great for people to hear about all the great things happening in the library, and people seem really excited about it. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate you taking time out of your Saturday morning to do that. And now I am actually we are going to take a 5-minute break. If anybody needs to use the restroom or get lunch, we're about 15 minutes past our time, but so hopefully everyone, thank you for sticking with us. So we are going to do our breakout sessions. What's going to happen is you're going to get a notification for the breakout session and you can enter the breakout room. If you are in the, Jenny, I just saw your question come through. I don't know if Stephanie is still on, but I will ask, oh, Stephanie, you are still on. Jenny had asked, can alums get access to scholarly journal articles through the library?
You have access to interlibrary loans, so you can have access to them, but it's generally not directly through the website. So there's like a process for them. So go into our website and look up interlibrary loan and tell us what it is that you want. And there's a form for that, so it should be easy. But if you do have questions, just email us, library@cedarcrest.edu.